Well, we've had a few days to process the release of the all-new 2022 Toyota Tundra, and I've got to say that it's already starting to grow on me. When I saw the first leaked images and the first officially released photo of the whole truck by Toyota, I've got to admit that I was skeptical, but I'm starting to like it with time. Now, many of you guys know that I preemptively sold my 2016 Toyota Tacoma this past June, and I've been without a truck since, and I've been anxiously awaiting the release of the Tundra because I've been truckless. It's been fun driving the FJ. It's good for certain things, but there are other things where it'd be really nice to have a truck again, and so definitely have been anxiously awaiting this release. Excited that the Tundra is finally here. As you guys know, I've been considering a few other options as well, and I've been very tempted during this whole waiting process to pull the trigger on something else, but at the same time, I knew that I'd regret it if I bought something else before I at least had a chance to see the Tundra. And although I wouldn't say that I'm 100% sure on the Tundra, I'm probably about 95% of the way there. Despite being kind of skeptical at first, seeing all the various trim packages of the Tundra, seeing the interior, hearing about the powertrains, there are a lot of things that I'm really starting to like on it. And, you know, the more angles that you see of the truck and seeing it out, you know, actually performing outside gives it a different look than just a white backdrop. And so definitely kind of getting on board with the idea of the Tundra. Now, although I'm 95% of the way there in terms of purchasing one, there is a big factor we haven't heard any details on yet, and that is the price. How much is the all-new 2022 Tundra going to cost? Well, Toyota hasn't released any information on that yet, but there are a number of other publications out there that have released some thoughts, and I've got a few thoughts of my own, and so we're going to cover that in this video. And there's one factor in particular that is going to have a significant impact on the cost in terms of driving that up. I'll get to that toward the end of the video. Starting off with the more entry-level trim packages on the Tundra, I think we're going to see a slight increase in cost on those because production costs are up. Labor is up, material is up, and inflation is out of control right now with the pandemic and all of those impacts on the supply chain. Now, hopefully that's going to normalize long term, and Toyota will factor that into their pricing right now, knowing that maybe profit margins won't be as great right now, but down the road, you know, that'll kind of even out. That's just speculation. But I think that the reason why they're going to be very aggressive with their pricing on those entry-level models is that they're kind of a second-class player when it comes to the full-size truck segment. In terms of overall sales, they lag behind Ford, GM, and Ram, and I know that they're going to want to take a larger portion of the segment, and the best way to do that is to be very competitive with their pricing. Now, on the flip side of that, when you get into those higher end trim packages of the Tundra, you're still going to see that incremental cost increase because of production, but at the same time, a all-new 2022 Tundra that is fully loaded has a lot more options than what you're getting on a current 2021 Tundra. The powertrain is a lot more complex because you've got the hybrid battery, you've got a 10-speed automatic transmission, you've got 2 turbos. When you talk about features, you've got a large infotainment screen. Again, on the heavily loaded models, you're going to have heated seats, ventilated seats, a heated steering wheel. We've got the multi-terrain select system, crawl control, hill descent control, locking rear differential on the TRD Pro model. So all of those things that you didn't get on the second generation Tundra are now on the third generation, and that's really going to drive those prices up significantly. So really high level, I think that's what we're going to be seeing in terms of pricing on the 2022 Tundra, but really nailing it down by trim package and talking about exact dollar amounts. I'm going to give you an idea of what I think we're going to be seeing. Again, this is pure speculation because Toyota hasn't released any pricing information on the Tundra just yet, but taking into consideration what some other publications are saying, looking at what other automakers are selling their trucks for, and then also looking, you know, just at the market as a whole with the pandemic and what it's done to inflation and increase in production costs in terms of material and labor. This is what I think we're going to see with the 2022 Tundra. Starting off the lineup, the SR model, that's your base Tundra. Currently, the 2021 model, that starts at about $34,000. I think we're going to see about a $2,000 increase to about $36,000 for that SR, and that's going to be, again, the starting point for the Tundra. From there, we jump up to the SR5 model. I think that the SR5 is going to be in the $38,000 to $40,000 range. Next, we've got the limited model. That's probably going to be in the $45,000 to $47,000 range. Then we've got the Platinum and the 1794 edition. I think those will be priced very similarly, probably in the $50,000 to $52,000 range. And then topping off the lineup, I would expect the TRD Pro to come in at about $55,000. Not necessarily because it should cost that much more than the Platinum or the 1794 edition, but because I think that's really going to be the halo truck of the brand. I think that there's going to be really high demand for that model. And as a result, I think Toyota is really going to inflate the price on the TRD Pro. So if I want an all-new Tundra TRD Pro, just go down to my dealership and buy one for $55,000, right? Well, unfortunately, it's not quite that simple because there's some other variables at play. I already mentioned to you guys that the pandemic is affecting production costs, and we're probably going to see some impact of that from Toyota in terms of the MSRP, because they're paying more for material, they're paying more for labor, and they've got to factor that in long term as well as in the immediate future. So I don't think they're going to be too aggressive with that, because most likely the production supply chain is going to catch up, and they don't need to count on prices being where they are right now for the long term. So maybe that'll affect their profit right now a little bit, and they'll make up for it long term. But the other variable at play is that we've got dealerships on the other end of the equation. And with the shortage of vehicles right now, empty dealer lots, people having a hard time even getting their hands on a vehicle, they're willing to pay a premium. And so dealerships are definitely going to take advantage of that. The reason that I know is, as I told you guys, I'm about 95% sure that I'm going to go forward with the 2022 Tundra. And so I contacted my local dealership to see about placing a reservation, and they said, yeah, you can place a reservation right now, $1,000 refundable, but we're going to have a market adjustment of $5,000 on all trim levels, except for the TRD Pro. We're going to have a market adjustment of $7,500. Talk about a bummer. That means if I'm right on the pricing, that base SR model is no longer going to be $36,000. Now you're going to be looking at about $41,000, and you get up to the top of the spectrum at that TRD Pro. If it's 55, that means you're talking $62,500. It's a lot of money. And if you get any options, accessories, it's more on top of that. For comparison, I've been shopping again for the last several months while I've been truckless, and you can get a all-new third generation Ford Raptor or the all-new Ram TRX for just under $70,000. There's a few dealerships that are putting on huge markups. So that's closing that gap in terms of price between the TRD Pro Tundra and the Raptor and the TRX. And I'm sure there's some of you guys that would rather have the Tundra, but I start to get a little tempted when you're talking Raptor TRX. Those have been two options on my list, and one of the main deterrents has been price. But now if the price of all three models is pretty equivalent, kind of shuts that conversation down a little bit. Now, one thing to point out, of course, is just because my dealership is putting on a $5,000 to $7,500 markup on every new Tundra doesn't mean that your dealership will. My guess is that many dealerships are doing this right now, though, just because demand is an issue nationwide. And so I'd say that in general, most people are going to see some sort of markup. I do live in a rural area. This is the Kendall Toyota of Bend dealer in Oregon. So we're far from any large metropolitan area. And with that, we do tend to see higher prices for things like new vehicles. So I am looking at a dealership over on the other side of the mountains near civilization to see if maybe their markups aren't quite as crazy. And then the other option that I'm actually looking into is maybe I just drive to Texas or fly to Texas and pick up a Tundra there. That's where the factory is. Maybe take a little trip to San Antonio, and I would imagine, being right next to the factory, that they're gonna have early access to the Tundra. Maybe their supply will be a little bit better as well, save on the delivery fee, and it'll be a pretty sweet road trip to fly out there to the birthplace of the Tundra, drive it home from there, and make a sweet road trip video along the way. So that's an option that I'm considering. Hope you guys don't all steal my idea and snag all those reservations at the San Antonio, Texas Toyota dealership. But we'll see. It's just an idea at this point. Still a lot of things to consider. One of the big decisions that I do need to make is if I am going to go forward with the all-new Tundra, what trim package am I going to get? That's a hard one, because there is quite a range in pricing, and they all look very different, and they've got very different level of features. So that's something I'm going to be thinking about quite a bit. You guys can look forward to a video on that in the near future. I would love to get your guys' input on that question as well. If you were buying an all-new third-generation Tundra, what trim package would you buy? Also, I'd love to hear what you guys are seeing across the country. Any of you that have contacted your dealerships about placing a reservation, are you guys seeing similar markups, or is this just my local dealer that's trying to take advantage of people? I imagine it's pretty widespread, but love to see what you guys have to say in the comments below. To stay up to date on my progress and decision with third generation Tundra, be sure to subscribe. And in the meantime, thanks for watching.